Thank you, Tolu. This week, we are focusing on inflation in the Nigerian economy. And Godfrey Obioma, a financial analyst, is my guest. Godfrey, welcome.
Thank you.
We have heard so much about decline in inflation in the Nigerian economy from 16.25% to 16.1%, according to National Bureau of Statistics. What do you make of this data?
Well, let's first of all understand what inflation means. Inflation is a consistent rise in general price over a period of time, and is usually measured by some economic indices like consumer price index. Really, inflation is, can be quite damaging to an economy because it erodes assets, whether you're talking about treasury bills, whether you're talking about investment in stocks, whether you're talking about returns in investment. As long as inflation is high, it erodes the value of assets. Now, coming to the projection made by FSDH, yes, any private research company can make forecasts, but then it's not compulsory that that forecast must really meet the target because it will depend on economic variables.
Yeah, you've mentioned damage that could happen to the economy as a result of inflation. Could you articulate such damages?
Yeah, now let me give you an example. If an investor makes returns of, say, 15% in treasury bills or 15.5% in bonds. Now, if inflation is 16.1%, it means that real return on investment is very low. In fact, negative, because it simply means that the inflation is much higher than the person's returns or yield. That's how bad inflation can be in an economy.
But government officials insist that we must recognize that this inflation is coming down, it is declining. I mean, should we celebrate inflation at 16% when in other jurisdictions we talk about inflation at single digits?
Well, it's good to be happy when inflation rate is coming down, because it's always better to have it low than high. At the time, you remember, inflation rate was above 17%. Now, in the last four consecutive months now, inflation has been going down. So it's something to be happy about. But as 16.1% is not something, we shouldn't celebrate it. Because if you look at returns in the money market, even in the market, general market, consumer goods market, I mean, how much labor, workers, how much do they earn? By the time they get their income, of course, their take-home pay, the value of their income would have been reduced. So at 16.1%, inflation is still very high. Remember that about before 2015, the economy was running on a single-digit inflation. So it would be nice having it as a single-digit rate. In other climes, like the US, UK, if inflation goes beyond 6%, it is a crisis point, because they know the implication of that in the economy and in the life of households and individuals.
So what do we do as a nation to have inflation at a single digit? Is it even possible, at this time?
Well, the economists will tell you that they will explain inflation as a very high price chasing few goods. And what that means is that when there is excess liquidity in the economy relative to goods, definitely it is not good. Therefore, it is the responsibility of the CBN to design its monetary policy in a way that suits the economic blueprint of the government. I made that point because it is the program of the government. It is the blueprint of the government that determines what the government wants. Government could say, look, we want to create unemployment, we want to reduce unemployment such and such a level. We also want to grow GDP at such and such a rate. Now, it is the responsibility of the CBN to design its financial policy to achieve those targets. For example, in Nigeria, we know that at the current high level of inflation, money supply is high. And that's why the CBN has tried to adjust the interest rate over a period of time. So what government should continue, the CBN should continue to, create a handle, cut the liquidity level in the economy relative to the economic objective of the government.
If we insist on talking about inflation coming down, we must make reference to household spenders. Are they picking things from the shops and from the streets at rates that are reasonable at all?
No, really, the value of the value of money now has reduced compared to what it was before 2015, because what your 5,000 can buy now cannot be compared to what it can buy some years back. So the value of the naira has really gone down, and so whether households, whether workers, obviously it is not good for them, because for salary earners, their salary can no longer finance their needs as it used to be before. So what should be done is that there should be increase in productivity, because, like I said, inflation is a general rising price. When productivity is constant. So, but if there is increase in production of goods and services, you can be sure that, the price of goods will be moderated. It's in line with the economic principle that says when supply is high, of course, price will fall. Whereas when demand is high relative to supply, the reverse is the case.
So now, do you see this economy achieving a single-digit inflation rate, say, before the end of this year? Is it possible?
It depends on how much productive the economy is. It also depends on the monetary and fiscal policies put in place. What one has seen in recent times is that there is a conflict between fiscal policy, which is being managed by the Federal Minister of Finance, and then monetary policy managed by the central bank. Now, you see that sometimes the CBN will try to cut liquidity in the economy by hiking interest rate. But the Federal Minister of Finance will do the reverse. You see government spending so much, unrestrained spending, which is against the policies taken by the central bank.
Okay, let's leave it there, Godfrey. Thank you for coming. We've been looking at inflation in the Nigerian economy. My guest has been Godfrey Obioma, a financial analyst.